Petey here with a recommendation. Todd Rundgren's A Wizard, a True Star album. Now, I should tell you this story first because I find it fascinating. When David Chapman, the guy who shot John Lennon, when they arrested him, he was wearing a Todd Rundgren shirt, and he had a shrine to Todd Rundgren in his hotel room. What had happened was Todd Rundgren and Wolfman Jack went to this disco where John Lennon was. This was on his last weekend when Yoko Ono had kicked him to the curb, and he left to go to L.A. with Kyoko, who was another woman that was Yoko Ono's friend. She sent him with as a handler to handle John Lennon. John Lennon met Harry Nilsson hanging around at the Troubadour Club, and they got into drinking and doing coke and whoring, and they also recorded an album called Pussycats. So at that time, they're working on Pussycats. Todd Rundgren comes out there with Wolfman Jack, and Lennon's in a discotheque, all messed up, and Wolfman Jack comes in. Hey, this here's Todd Rundgren. Hey, and John Lennon didn't have any of it, and whatever he did, he snubbed or he really hurt Todd Rundgren's feelings. So Todd Rundgren wrote an open letter to John Lennon saying that you're a fake, you're a phony. He said, you working class hero, but you live in these mansions. You live like a rich person, inaccessible, and elite lifestyle. But then a working class hero is something to be. It's not adding up. And so he did this open letter. I believe it was published in Rolling Stone magazine, and this all totally jives. It totally fits in with why David Chapman murdered John Lennon. So the fact that when they did arrest Chapman, he was wearing a Todd Rundgren shirt and had a shrine to Todd Rundgren is really messed up. And this is something that they don't talk about this, but you can look into it and check it out. Now, getting back to this album, track number 5 is called Rock and Roll Pussy, and this album came out before John Lennon was shot. This is Todd Rundgren taking a shot at John Lennon working with Nelson Pussycats album. So he says, you're just a rock and roll pussy. And so that's an interesting thing on this album. There's 12 songs on side 1, 7 songs on side 2. Side 1 is much more experimental. It's a concept album in that all the songs run together. So you're going to want to listen to this on the vinyl or on the CD that doesn't skip through. Whatever method you can figure out to listen to this with no skips is going to be good, because the songs all run together. So this album fits into the like cream of the crop stuff for me, where the songs run together and it's a true concept album. The story behind this is he had built his own studio in Woodstock, which is north of New York, and that's the area where there was a scene. It was a label called Bearsville, and I think Big Pink was there. They had done or the band that was Cripple Creek. Those guys, they were Bob Dylan's band, Robbie Robertson and those people. And man, a lot of people hate on Robbie Robertson. Anyway, that's that whole area where this went down. Rundgren built his own little studio there. What had happened, they had come out in Rolling Stone and said, somebody in a nasty review, because that's all that Rolling Stone does, is they praise mediocre pop music and they shit on anybody that has anything different. They'll either ignore it if it's really good and different, or if it's just really out there and challenging music, they will mock it. That's what Rolling Stone does, and that's why we don't support Rolling Stone. Now, someone in Rolling Stone had said Todd Rundgren is the male Carole King, and that hurt him because Carole King was this kind of milquetoast singer-songwriter that did ballads. And he had this really successful album called Something Anything with that Hello It's Me. Most people, I think, Hello It's Me, and I don't want to work, I want to bang on the drum all day. Well, there's a lot to Todd Rundgren's career. It's hit or miss. This stuff in this time period is the best stuff in the early 70s. The stuff he did with the band called Utopia is really interesting music as well. So I recommend that Utopia stuff, all of the early Todd Rundgren from that area. He was in a band called the Nas. That's all good stuff too. But today I would really like to start you out with what started me out tripping out on Todd Rundgren's music, and that's A Wizard, a True Star. So it's an incredibly cool album. Rolling Stone had you're the male Carole King. He built a studio in that Bearsville, in that Woodstock, New York. And I think they soldered their own circuit, the mixing board. It was like they built the studio. And someone gave him a shoebox full of peyote buttons, I guess as payment to maybe be able to use his studio. So he was eating those nonstop. As soon as he would start to come down, no one knew. He didn't tell anybody, but he was just way up there. And that's what we get with this album side. The first side is a true psychedelic album. So it's the fourth album released by Todd Rundgren. Came out on March 2nd, 1973. Significant departure from Something Anything, which was 72, which was straightforward ballads. He contributes the idiosyncratic sound of Wizard, a True Star to his experimentation with psychedelic drugs. He became more aware of what music and sound were like in his internal environment and how different that was from the music he had been making. So upon the release, the album went up to 86 on the Billboard 200, and it became a huge influence on later generations of bedroom musicians. And I'll just say, if you do make music by yourself, this is going to hurt. Rolling Stone, James Isaacs. I doubt that even the staunchest Todd Rundgren cultists would want to subject themselves to most of the japery on side one, which would be better suited for a cartoon soundtrack. On the other hand, side 2's restraint is brimming with good humor, its ambience and innocence is irresistible. It helps save A Wizard, a True Star, well, from being a total disaster. That's when side 1 ends, my heart sinks, because I know I got to listen to side 2. I feel completely the opposite about it. Writing in Cream, Roger Christgau said he's a minor songwriter with a major woman's problem who's good with the board and has a sense of humor. Now, this is what I think is funny, because he had so much music it couldn't fit on the record, so they had to play with the mastering speeds, which meant the quality of some of these songs is in the toilet. And Todd Rundgren said in the liner notes, turn it up louder to compensate for that. That was So another critic, Roger Joseph Manning Jr., praised the album for its unusual sound. Stuff is distorting, parts are panned all crazy, there's so much nuttiness going on, but it ends up enhancing his songs because it adds so much more charm and character. And that's exactly how I feel. Wizard, a True Star is completely unique. You'll never hear anything even comes close to it. It is, in fact, a true psychedelic album. It's incredibly adventurous. This album blew me away. I was halfway through the first song, I was in tears. And I was so angry why I had never listened to this music. What had happened to me, I got sick in 2016. I had a panic attack that lasted 4 months, and I couldn't eat. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I had cramping diarrhea, and I had this fear of impending doom. It was worse than depression. It was terror. That for no reason I was shaking, and it was hell. It was living hell for 4 months. I went through that. And that was a result of a severe reaction to testosterone replacement therapy, which is medication. So Bowie died, and I was tripping out on that, going deep on the internet on all that stuff, and I discovered this album, and then went really hard on Todd Rundgren's music, which there is this like melancholy beauty to a lot of those songs, and it's very tough for me to listen to his music now because of it brings me back to that where I was damaged, and the sorrow and the fear that I lived through, that hurt me. And so that music, I ruined it for myself. Anyway, the reviews are up and down on this. I want to read Patti Smith. She wrote a review in Rolling Stone. Blasphemy even the gods smile on. Rock and roll for the skull. A very noble concept. Past, present, and tomorrow in one glance. Todd Rundgren is preparing us for a generation of frenzied children who will dream in animation, understanding through musical sensation. So yeah, that's Patti Smith's review. I'm going to tell you, if you don't check out this album, you're a fool. This is, I'm handing you solid gold here. So definitely let me know if you give it a listen. If you already are a fan of this album, let me know what you love about it. I'm not going to say that side 2 is bad. I listened to the whole thing. It's a great album, and he's a great musician. So definitely check out. If you don't know his stuff, most people say something, anything, Wizard of Mick Hollow or whatever it is. Hermit of Mick Hollow is another good one. I really like the Utopia music. That first Utopia album is the one that I really like. But anyway, I'm going to cut you guys loose. A Wizard, a True Star. If it was good enough for Chapman, to drive Chapman to kill John Lennon, maybe you deserve to give this album a shake. Peace.